USD 435 update on Eagle Community Television is brought to you by Memorial Health System Rehabilitation and Sports Medicine. Memorial Health System Rehabilitation and Sports Medicine will get you back in the game. Century Business Systems. Century Business Systems provides local service, competitive pricing, and simplified solutions for all of Abilene's copier and printer needs. Rivendell Bookstore, Abilene's only new and used bookstore, supporting USD 435 and its surrounding community. Abilene Physical Therapy and Sports Rehab. At Abilene Physical Therapy and Sports Rehab, wellness is your goal and our mission. You're more than a patient, you're family. Reynolds Real Estate. Buying or selling a home? Call Reynolds Real Estate at 263-7151 to speak to our professional realtors today. The Brian Teichman Agency in Abilene. Come see the Brian Teichman Agency in Abilene for all your insurance coverage under one roof. Pursue your dreams. We'll protect them. And Eagle Communications. Our community connected.
Welcome to USD 435 Update. Today we have Mr. Greg Heinrichs, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about the garden project at Kennedy, and then maybe a little bit about literacy if we have the time to do that.
I don't know why Eisenhower would be on your mind.
I don't know. Well, speaking of Eisenhower, I just wanted to report a little bit on the open house. We had a lot of folks show up to Eisenhower last week, Thursday evening, and we appreciate that. So thank you if you came out to Eisenhower. If you'd like to see it and you didn't get a chance to, just give us a call. We'd be happy to take you over there, or the principal, and we'll take you in and let you take a tour. We also had an open house at Garfield, and there was a lot of folks that showed up over there. We got some great input on some of the things that the community would like to see happen with that building. So I'm sharing that with the City of Abilene, and actually they were there as well, and we'll see what comes of it. As far as the timeline on that building, we do need to use that still to store some things as the high school is finishing up. So we also will probably move the weight program, the summer weight program, to that building. So we're going to be using that building until through the summer, and then we'll look at trying to figure out who will be the next owner of Garfield. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Let's see, as far as other updates, construction-wise, you'll see that things are really happening at the high school. They're getting the roof on, and they're starting to think about enclosing that building. We are moving some spaces inside as well, just to get prepared for the summer. The summer, it's going to be a lot of things going on up there at the high school, so we're kind of off limits for the use of that building this summer. So hopefully by August of 2016, you will not have to listen to me update you on construction projects anymore, because we'll be all finished. So we're looking forward to that, but it's going to be great spaces for our kids, and a lot of fun to bring them into those spaces. So, all right, with that, I'm going to kind of let Mr. Heinrichs talk about moving from the indoors to the outdoors, and it's spring-like weather now.
That's
so
exactly
it's a perfect topic on our garden. So yeah, tell us a little bit about your project.
About a year ago, we group of us at Kennedy had an idea that just kind of blossomed. Pardon the pun on that. And I can kind of fill everybody in. We've talked to kids, of course, and our kids as parents, and there have actually been a few newspaper articles along the way too that have kind of updated the community on where we're at. But maybe I'll go back kind of in time and share how we got to this point. We had an idea, like I said, to start a garden somewhere at Kennedy about this time last year, and we kind of latched on to the idea of making it a prairie garden and planting plants that were native to this part of Kansas. There's just something kind of neat maybe about that, and I can get into some of those reasons a little bit later too. So we found a place down the road in Heston, Kansas that is devoted to that kind of plants. It's called the Dick Arboretum, and again it's located there in Heston. And about this time last spring, we took a teacher field trip. Kid field trips are always fun, but teacher field trips are fun too. On one of our professional development days, we took a bus of teachers down to the Dick Arboretum and walked around the grounds there. It's probably 20 or 30 acres of land that's set aside for native prairie plants, and they have a full staff of people to guide those tours. And we just took in the grounds to begin with, and got some ideas on what a garden might look like at Kennedy. And then we talked to their educational consultant. His name is Brad Gurr, and one of the primary parts of his job is working with schools to develop patches of their site back to, again, a prairie garden. And he's been so helpful in doing that. So we came back and talked a little bit more, and we were still excited about the idea. And then the work really began for us. We put together a team of, I think, about 8 teachers who were going to be the leaders on this. And the first step for us was to attend what the Dick Arboretum calls their Summer Institute. And it was a week-long institute in Heston there at the Arboretum, where you learn not just about those plants, but really about setting it up in a school setting. Anywhere from the plants and the design of your garden to securing some funds from your community to the lessons that you teach to your students.
That's what I was going to ask you, is how does this tie into the curriculum that we're teaching?
It's been great. Our students are out there regularly and learning about those plants, learning plant cycles. We purposely picked plants that were interesting in all seasons of the year, not just when they're blossoming in the fall or maybe in the spring or summer, but some of them have really interesting seed pods in the winter time, and so our plans are to do all sorts of things with our students. That has not quite gotten off the ground like it eventually will, mainly because when we planted the plants, they were only about 2 or 3 inches tall, and you can't do a whole lot with those plants until they really start blooming and growing. So we're getting there.
Learn patience along the way, right?
Yeah. So we had all of our ideas. We designed the garden in the summer. And prepared the ground for planting over the summer. We brought in some rocks to kind of border that. And then I think it was last September, it might have been October, but sometime in the fall, we had our big planting day, and we had purchased 75 plants that all of our students had a hand in planting, which was kind of neat.
Very
that
cool.
they had a chance from the ground level. Again, pardon the pun on that one. To be a part of that. We invited parents, and we had several parents show up, and it was just a great day. And it probably, for me, it was one of the highlights of the year, because any day like that where you're going to be spending it outside, you always hope and pray for good weather, and it was just beautiful. And then to have all the kids be a part of that and have their parents there, there's just something special about a day like that. It just turned out perfect, and the kids were just excited, and it was fun to see teams of 2 or 3 kindergartners, for example, working together to dig a hole in the ground and plant a plant. Or we had some heavy limestone rocks that we used around the border, and seeing 4 or 5 first graders all pitch in and pick up this heavy rock and put it into place. It was just a really neat thing.
How about the tools that you used to plant the plants with?
When I mentioned we tried to secure some funds, and we had just a very gracious donation from the Community Foundation to purchase, I think, about 15 trowels, that we could dig into the ground with. And so we had these nice big trowels, and kids always get a kick out of playing in the dirt anyway. So it was just fantastic, just a great day all around. An update on those 75 plants. I think, and I'm not probably an expert green thumb, but I think all but one of those is going to make it. So we felt pretty good about 74 out of 75 plants doing that. But we really babied those plants. I probably twice a day would round up a group of kiddos, and we'd go outside and water the plants morning and afternoon through the fall. One of the great things about prairie plants, native plants, is once they're established, you can kind of just let them go, because they're used to, living in Kansas and not having regular water like sometimes we have, and trying to live through 100-degree days. So that'll be really neat. Once we get them established, it's pretty much hands off at that point.
Very cool. Will you expand, you think?
We do have some plans. We want to just make sure we get this, our current garden established and going really well. But we have started talking about maybe opening up another garden. That planting day was just so neat. And if we continued to open up more area, we could incorporate a planting day every single fall.
Year,
is kind of what we're thinking, but that's still kind of in the works.
Okay.
We just want to make sure we get this one going really well first.
Now, where is the garden located?
It's right out front. If you're familiar with the grounds at Kennedy, you know, we kind of have a circle drive, or at least I call it the circle drive, where our buses come in the morning and the afternoon and drop off and pick up kids. Our flagpole is right there, and then just to the west of the flagpole area, it's very easy to see if you just drive by on Cooney, and we would love to have people stop in and look at that. But I'll warn you right now, again, those plants were very tiny in the fall, and of course they don't grow you know, in the winter time. So it doesn't look like much now, but I was just out there this morning and there's some green growth starting to happen. So it won't be too long.
As long as it doesn't freeze.
Yeah,
what would a freeze do to it right now?
I hope they're okay. I think we were told all along that just the fact that they're native plants, they're used to things like that.
Okay.
So I think we're going to be okay, but nobody's more excited to see those plants start growing than our kiddos, because again, they had a hand in doing that, and I know they've kind of gone out and looked at them, and they are anxious to see some of those plants growing. We've had to have the conversation that in the wintertime, plants don't really die, but they're not growing either.
Right.
So our kids have learned a lot about just the nature of plants.
I can see this tying into science very well too.
Yeah, our future plans are at least once and probably twice a week there will be science lessons that connect and use those plants. One of our themes just in that teacher group from the very beginning was we've got to make sure that there's instruction tied to this garden. If we don't tie instruction to it, if our kids aren't learning something because of that, all it is a pretty garden, which is nice, and it'll be attractive, but we want it to be so much more than that. And it just seemed like a perfect fit with kindergarten and first graders to kind of dive into something like that. But we really think we can make some really cool connections on the science and social studies part of it, especially because of the native aspect of it. You know, there's all kinds of social studies connections to, you know, what Kansas would have looked like, you know, all over 100 years ago or 200 years ago before communities started popping up like that. So it's been really neat, and it'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger, I think.
So when will most of the flowers or the plants bloom?
Most of them will be late spring and summer. So that, I guess that's one of the drawbacks of connecting it to a school is summertime is really going to be probably the most attractive time of this. But like I said, our team of teachers purposely picked flowers that were interesting in all seasons of the year. So you may not see pretty flowers at all times, but there'll be something happening with that garden, whether it's seed pods or interesting looking leaves and things like that at all times of the year. But just give us a little bit of time on that. So hopefully if it all comes together, we're going to get there soon. So I'd feel bad if I didn't talk about some of the people who helped us along the way. And we mentioned the Community Foundation, which is so gracious. And we've had other donations, monetary donations, that have just really helped us out. And I hope I don't leave anyone out, but we've had donations from Pheasants Forever, has been very gracious with that. We had donations of wood mulch from our city department. Lon Schrader came with a big truck, backed right up to the garden,
very cool.
and dropped some wood mulch and to kind of keep our weeds down. We've just been blessed, and none of the funds that we needed for this came out of the Kennedy budget or the district budget. So it's just really nice, and it was neat to see the community see value in something like this and be able to support us in that way. It's really been neat. We had when one of the articles about the paper ran in the newspaper, we had a company from Pennsylvania that saw that somehow, I have no idea, and they wanted to donate and did donate birdhouses
Really?
that we could use, and I think 75 pounds of bird seed. So it's one of those things that started out just as a simple, small idea, and we've just kind of run with it, and I think people have kind of sensed some of that excitement and have wanted to be a part of that. So it's, like I said, we're still in the beginning stages of some of that, but I think it's just been really neat.
Very good. Well, thank you for that, and I know that you also have plans to tie literacy into your Prairie Garden, but on a different side note, you know, you have the kindergarten students that come into your building. So we're going to switch gears just a little bit. Just walk through, because we're going to be starting to think about a new school year and getting new students in. Walk through what it takes to learn or to teach a child to read.
That's a big question, Dr. Guy, and that is certainly probably at the top of our priority list is just literacy skills and teaching students how to read and give them those early reading skills at Kennedy, and then it just continues down the line at other schools. But boy, and I guess maybe I speak to this as a parent too. There's just so much that can happen prior to kindergarten to give students a good footing for them to become readers. I think the first thing we can do is just talk to our young kids. They learn so much language just when they hear that with us. I know you've heard Chris Cooper, our assistant superintendent, talk about this, that at that stage of life, 3, 4, 5 years old, students are picking up 6 to 8 new words a day, which just blows my mind when you put it in those terms, but they're just sponges when it comes to words. And then reading to students, I don't know that you can ever read to students enough, and you know, maybe this sounds pretty old-fashioned, but going back to those nursery rhymes and songs that I know my parents, you know, did with me and grandparents did with me, you can tell which students have experienced some of those things because they're just able to manipulate sounds and they know words. And again, it just gives them a really secure footing for the skills that will eventually add on to that at school. And then when they start to write their own name and connecting the letters in their name to letters that they see, you know, around town, one of the things that we always encourage parents of Kennedy kids to do is anytime you're with your child, you're going to the store, or you know, you're driving somewhere, is just point out the words that you see. Maybe you see the word stop on a stop sign, or maybe you see Shopco, and just identifying that as a word is very helpful. And then you can start to kind of play with the sounds in those words and talk about what letters have certain sounds. Those are all just fantastic things to do. That again gives a really strong footing for what will come next on that journey towards becoming a reader.
Very good. So as parents prepare for their children to come to school, those are some nice ideas. What about when they first walk in the door? Are there things that we can do to kind of make it an easy transition into that kindergarten year?
Yeah, you bet. I think one of the things that I'm always impressed, at the end of the day, I'm often in the front of the building, and so I catch conversations sometimes between parents who are picking up their students, and the conversations that always impress me the most are when parents ask students questions about what they did that day. And I think that's neat for students to be able to share that, because it feels important to them.
Right.
But I think that sends a really strong message that what happens at school is really valued. This is important to me, and being successful in kindergarten and first grade, and then down the line, it is really important. We're setting a stage for hopefully a future successful life. When they leave high school and do whatever their life leads them to do. But I think just talking to students about what they do each day and asking questions about what they're doing and finding out some details about what happened in math class today, or what new word did you learn today, or are you still working on writing your name? Those are just really neat questions, and I think there's just again a message that sends that we really value those things at home. And I've always said when the things that are valued at home are the things that are valued at school, there's students don't have much choice but to be successful.
Right.
I mean, it's just so
Very good.
easy for them to be successful that way.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Heinrichs. I hope you can see the passion in his face when he talks about these things. He's a wealth of information and has done a nice job getting our kids prepared to learn to read or on that journey. That's really all we have today, but I want to thank you for tuning in to USD 435 Update.
USD 435 Update on Eagle Community Television is brought to you by Memorial Health System Rehabilitation and Sports Medicine. Memorial Health System Rehabilitation and Sports Medicine will get you back in the game. Century Business Systems. Century Business Systems provides local service, competitive pricing, and simplified solutions for all of Abilene's copier and printer needs. Rivendell Bookstore, Abilene's only new and used bookstore, supporting USD 435 and its surrounding community. Abilene Physical Therapy and Sports Rehab. At Abilene Physical Therapy and Sports Rehab, wellness is your goal and our mission. You are more than a patient, you're family. Reynolds Real Estate. Buying or selling a home? Call Reynolds Real Estate at 263-7151 to speak to our professional realtors today. The Brian Teichman Agency in Abilene. Come see the Brian Teichman Agency in Abilene for all your insurance coverage under one roof. Pursue your dreams, we'll protect them. And Eagle Communications, our community connected.